In America's century-long romance with the automobile, the passion has never burned brighter than with hot rods. Be they immaculate show cars, gritty racers, or somewhere in between, hot rods embody the core values that made this country great. Innovation, competition, improvisation, good looks, fast cars, and the relentless drive to succeed, as told by the legends, old and new, who lived it. This is the incredible true story of an American icon, the hot rod. Hello, I'm Chip Foose. SoCal Speed Shop was one of the great race teams of the golden age of hot rods. Their cars were distinctive, innovative, and fast, setting records at every available venue. SoCal cars were also regularly featured on the cover of Hot Rod magazine. The story of SoCal's decline and rebirth closely mirrors that of hot rodding itself. And it took a legendary car and an unlikely partnership to resurrect one of the culture's iconic brands. After spending the 40s and 50s kicking butt and taking names, Alex Exidius closed the doors of SoCal Speed Shop in 1961, bringing to an end one of hot rodding's most well-known success stories. But by then, Alex had found a calling behind the camera. In fact, you've already seen some of his work, as Alex's old films constitute an invaluable record of the early days of hot rodding, including rare footage of SCTA meets at El Mirage Dry Lake, the first NHRA Nationals in 1955, and Mickey Thompson's 406-mile-per-hour run in 1960.
The car flashes through the timing lights. They are recording the fastest time that man has ever crossed the surface of this earth. In just over 10 years since the first hot rod ran at Bonneville, the challenge had been answered. Mickey Thompson had gone 406.60 miles an hour, and somebody remembered to change that sign.
It was a struggle, and I had to learn a lot because I did my own editing. I wrote my own scripts because I knew what the hell I was filming. So I almost filmed with the script in mind. So I finally decided I'd go with the filming business, and I closed the shop down. The most successful stuff I had was with the Indianapolis 500. Because it was a giant spectator sport. They were showing them in theaters later on, and so that was my success. I would fly home from Indy, edit and get it ready to go in 2 days. And in 3 days, we'd be on TV with the Indianapolis 500. That was good for me, but I was filming the drags at Indianapolis in 1964. I was standing out on the line, and I was really tired of doing this because I was doing most of it on my own. Dick Dave offered me the editorship of Carcraft magazine, and I jumped at it because I really was tired of the film business. It was a remarkable career, 12 and a half years of that. I did a lot of exciting stuff there, and so I didn't know Pete as well as I should have.
Alex would spend over 12 years working for Peterson Publishing and also served as the director of SEMA, and later worked with Mickey Thompson establishing the SCORE off-road equipment trade show. Meanwhile, a young hot rodder named Pete Chaporis was building a car that would help make a name for himself in hot rod circles, though that wasn't the original intent.
I built a black 34 coupe for me. I had always wanted one. I've wanted one since I was a little kid. So I was going to build this black, evil, basic hot rod. It looked like it was going 200 miles an hour while it was just sitting still. So got that car built, and then Jake and I got together. And then I got this call from Howie Horowitz, who was producing the Batman series at the time on TV for this TV movie starring Martin Sheen. And so we went out and we filmed the California Kid movie. It went on TV, and really the rest of it's history. I mean, it just catapulted us into another pond.
In 1974, Pete Chaporis and Jim Jacobs established Pete and Jake's, a blockbuster success right out of the box.
We went from zero to hero just overnight. I mean, there was money coming in like barrels of it. It was hysterical. We didn't know what to do. We went from 3 people to 22 people in like 5 months, and it was a catastrophe. Television changed our lives completely. Yeah, overzealous expansion just about killed Pete and Jake's.
During the California Kid years and doing Pete and Jake's years, when he was becoming famous in that part of the industry, I was off with KC highlights and roll bars and big tires. I was in off-roading, and that was a totally different experience for me. I knew nothing about that. Mickey had to bring me along totally on it. So I was missing the hot rod part in those days.
Pete and Alex had never met. Two Greek guys, two famous hot rodders, had really never met.
The world of classic cars is rife with stories of priceless cars found, untended and unrestored under a tarp in a barn. So much so that the term barn find entered the vocabulary. But of course, it doesn't have to be a barn, nor does it have to be a Ferrari or a Duesenberg. In fact, the reborn SoCal Speed Shop, in part, owes its existence to a neglected aluminum aircraft tank in a warehouse in Southern California.
My next project was the SoCal belly tank. And again, this was an iconic shape, a car that truly performed. In 1952, it went 198 miles an hour with a flathead engine. But it was the car that just caught my eye because it was so beautifully turned out. And I said, Alex, we've got to find your old belly tank. He said, well, I know right where it is. Don Ferguson has it in a warehouse in San Pedro. And I said, well, call him, let's get it done. You know, we've now restored the Pearson Brothers coupe, so we have a track history, and, you know, our intentions are known. It's not like we're gonna buy these cars and sell them and profit from them. So he said, look, you want the car? It's so many dollars. You come over, you bring a bag with that much money in it, I'll have the car ready for you. I said, it's a deal. I called Alex, called Pete, went down to San Pedro in a very rough area. I said, we're here to pick up the belly tank. You got it ready for us? I've got the money, and I held up this bag. He says, okay. You know, he opens the gate, and we kind of walk in, and the belly tank is up 30 feet in the air, 2 stories above where we were. He brought this car down from the ways, and it's swinging, you know, back and forth. And it comes down and it sits down in front of us, and Alec just looks at this car in such disgust. He goes, oh my God, what happened to my tank? And I'm looking at it, and it's all there. Every bit of suspension, the dash, the seats, the headrest upholstery, it's all there. I am like, I couldn't be happier. Should I get in?
You can get in, and let's take it outside, and we'll take the thing off, and you can get in it, and then we'll put the lid back on it.
I'm gonna thread my helmet here. Alex, you still got your helmet?
Sure.
Still got it? Where's the starter button?
Right there. I'll point to the starter button,
Yeah.
Pete. Right there. You got it, Bruce?
Yeah.
Okay, good boy.
Got it.
You're going.
Yeah, tap him on the helmet and give him the go-ahead there, Alex.
Thumbs up. So we load the car onto the trailer, and off we go, okay? We went back to Pete Shaporis' home near Arrowhead. He had a home shop built there, because that was his retirement place. And that's where he restored the Pearson Brothers coupe as well.
Now Pete is going to restore the belly tank. I go up to Crestline in the mountains where his shop is, watch him do this magic. And I would try to remember some of the stuff that he needed to know and what went where. We got to be very close because of the restoration.
So Alex started to see that this car was still there. Well, Alex and Pete became very good friends, and the belly tank gets restored.
The restored belly tank has since become one of the most popular Lakesters in the country, regularly appearing at big events, holding places of honor in various museums, and blowing the minds of people that can only imagine what it took to drive the thing.
You know, I do the same racing now that Alex did 50, 60 years ago. I tell you what, it scares the hell out of me doing it with all the safety equipment that we have today. And I look at that belly tank, and I picture in my mind that man Alex strapping on this goofy little skid lid and a t-shirt and put some goggles on and going 198 miles an hour down the salt. And, you know, that's impressive enough.
But the SoCal belly tank has another legacy, in that it brought together Alex Exidius and Pete Shaporis, who in the course of restoring one legend, had the idea to recreate another.
It was that belly tank. It was introducing Pete and Alex, and when I restored the belly tank, I had jackets made with the leather sleeves and the SoCal Speed Shop, and this kind of got Pete thinking that he wanted to get back into hot rodding. He decided that would be a great name, continue the tradition.
I was sitting up in my office by myself one night, and I just hated my name. It was just the worst. I couldn't even get a decent T-shirt out of it. It was just horrible. So I saw the belly tank up there, and I thought, I just wonder if Alex has still got that name, if he's still, if it's still registered and all that.
So one night, Pete Chaporis calls me. He wanted to do something special now and expand the business. And he says, I'm sitting here in my office tonight looking at the model of the belly tank. And he's thinking, SoCal Speed Shop, SoCal Speed Shop. He says, can we get together somehow and let me use that name? Well, I was blown away because I thought, God, would that ever be wonderful to get that name back out there, and because it's still well known and still a legend to a certain extent.
Other companies, large companies, had tried to buy the brand, and he wouldn't sell it to them. So I thought I had no chance at all. And it was literally, he just said yes. There was no even, hardly any thought to it.
So we formed this agreement, and it's been wonderful.
Following the mission of bringing the guys that started the hot rod, the real players, back together, reuniting them with their car, and here we now have the wonderful rebirth of the SoCal Speed Shop.
As the origins of hot rod culture drift further and further into the past, new generations have to stand up and take the baton to keep hot rodding moving forward. This is often something handed down from father to son, like my dad taught me. But it can also come about through a chance encounter with a legendary car.
Well, I grew up in a car family. My dad had customs, my uncle had hot rods, all their friends had hot rods. My uncle was the racer, and my dad customized cars and drove them on the street. Johnny was out on the lake bed, so I got it from both sides. On Saturdays, my dad would jump in his little street custom, and we would go around, we'd visit the different shops, and you'd look over the chain, and you'd see him working on stuff.
My dad was into, hot rods and bikes and boats and all that good stuff. So it was either going to, a speed shop, or it was going out to the desert, or the sand dunes, or the drag strip. Pop's telling you all about all the different cars, and it was just part of everyday life. In probably 1975, 1976, in my dad's '69 Chevy pickup truck, coming up to the stoplight, and this black flamed coupe pulls up next to us. And here's this guy with this big wild hairdo and a big beard driving this bitchin' chopped 3-window coupe, and just knocked my socks off. And it said on the door, California Kid. And that was Pete Chaporis.
Little could a young Jimmy Shine know that he'd one day work side by side with Pete Chaporis at SoCal Speed Shop. But for Jimmy, cars have been a lifelong obsession.
Bedtime stories when I was younger didn't necessarily consist of the Three Bears. It was more about hot rods and drag racing and those kind of things. What caused me to fall in love with automobiles, I really can't put my finger on that. I don't know. I just don't know any different. It's just ever since I can remember, that's all I ever really thought about, cars. And I could pick them out, and I knew all the different models and the years. And my dad was an old-time hot rodder and drag racing and just goofy stuff. So I kind of grew up around that, and, I was always a hands-on kid at a young age. Learned how to weld when I was about 9 years old, at least the fundamentals. My dad showed me how to arc weld and gas weld and do those kind of things. Yeah, but you see, Pete, he was a hero. He was the hot rod guy and had Pete and Jake's, and I mean, the TV show, The California Kid, and that iconic coupe, all that. He was close enough to know he was real, but just far enough away to think he was a god.
While Jimmy Shine may represent a new generation of builders at SoCal, his sensibilities are firmly rooted in the golden age of hot rodding that gave birth to the culture.
I think my heaviest influences, what really inspires me, are what the Dry Lakes racers and Bonneville racers did in the late 40s and early 50s. They took these vehicles that were, 15, 20, 30 years old, and by using their mind, their imagination, reshaped them, reconfigured them, different motors, different wheels, modified the bodies, still utilizing all these old original parts. This is before the aftermarket industry was really introduced. That imagination, that hands-on creativity, nothing set the precedent to these men. They didn't know any different. There weren't any rules. I see myself as being a traditional hot rodder. by choice, and that's just who I am. You know, I don't see myself having the same impact as, say, Chip Foose or Troy Trepanier. I mean, what those guys are doing is just far out there. It's beautiful stuff. I mean, wow, blows me away. But it's not my gig. The car that I'm kind of known for, that 34 pickup, it's a traditional hot rod. It doesn't have any paint on it, and it's been called a rat rod. It's been called a couple different things. But I mean, essentially, it's a hot rod. It's just not painted. I think the best thing I could do for this industry, for this sport, is kind of maintain true to my heritage. I'm a part of this SoCal Speed Shop. Forever, it'll be in me, you know? Whether I'm doing something else 20, 30 years from now, I'm still SoCal, and I always will be.
To paraphrase Alex Exidius, the original SoCal Speed Shop didn't take off until he started speeding in the belly tank. While modern hot rodding is certainly a very different animal than it was in the late 40s and early 50s, competitive success is always an excellent way to publicize the brand. And Jimmy Shine is carrying the tradition back to Bonneville, where SoCal made its name on the salt flats of northwest Utah.
My first trip ever to Bonneville was in 2002. So got that motor, Bill sent it out in a crate and got it here in the shop and took this motor out of the crate and stabbed that in our Roadster. And Tony Thacker and I joined forces and started racing the Thacker and Shine 1929 Model A Roadster. We ended up qualifying on the short course at 176 miles an hour. And then we stayed there the rest of the week. And the thing was just turnkey, fun, easy. And I think the top time was about 181 miles an hour. And then we turned around and drove the car home. That was my first experience at Bonneville. Tony and I had a great deal of success with our car. We ended up going faster and building different motors and got it over 200 in 2004. Decided to go out and try and get the D-blown street record with a 302 cubic inch motor. And in 2006, the record was 203 on my second pass and qualified at 208. So that qualifies for the record. And then we went back out and ran 204 on the backup run, which gave us a record average of 206.454, which gave us the record and also qualified me to be in the 200 mile an hour club, which is huge. 200 mile an hour club, it's been around since 1953. More people have climbed to the top of Mount Everest than are in this club. It's pretty exclusive. And to top things off, Art Krisman inducted me into the club on the salt. It was magic.
Here's the moment of truth. Right here.
It is. Yes.
We did it.
Life is good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Not ready to end his racing career just yet, Jimmy has since returned to Bonneville in a new car, but with the same attitude.
So we've spent the last 2 years chasing a couple different records. This last October, we took a 215 mile an hour record, got it twice in 4 days, where we bumped it and established a new record. Our exit speed on our last run was 228 miles an hour. And I got to go straight that time without spinning out. It's magic. I think ultimately we're hot rod race car guys, not necessarily show car guys. I'd take a record any day.
We have a spin at the 4.5 miles on 69.
All right, Jimmy Shine, good to see you safe.
You can't say I don't put on a good show.
The rebirth of SoCal Speed Shop is no mere vanity project, as the curators of this legendary name have no intention of letting the shop close a second time.
I have a business plan, actually. It's really simple. Build a brand. So everything you do is about building the brand. The car building drives the t-shirt sales, and that drives the hard part sales and all of that. Having things diversified makes the car building business a lot easier to take care of because one can absorb the other. If I had to run it just as a car shop, it would be very, very difficult to be where we are today. It's nice to be able to put somebody into a SoCal t-shirt who can't afford to buy a car and to be part of the fraternity. I think it's great. I'm proud that we're liked and that people want to do that. My car shop is a wonderful marketing tool. We have wonderful customers that we become very close to because it becomes a family thing. You know, I've always contended that if we can afford to buy our own sandpaper, toilet paper, paper towels, I'm okay. You know, if it's in the black, I'm an okay guy with it. It's the soul of the company. There's been plenty of times where I was advised, you know, you ought to just shut the car shop down because it's really not making you any money. It ain't about the money. It's about guys like Jimmy Shine and Evan and my kid and people that work and build these cars. It's a place for education. It's a place to pass things on.
I think what really sets SoCal apart from, you know, these other shops and other builders and restorers, we're really pulling on the fact that we've got such a strong reputation that goes back over decades of doing good quality work. I'm quite privileged. I've been asked to help represent and maintain the legacy of SoCal. You know, I kind of help the younger version coming into this, but we have an agreement between us. I'm helping carry on his legacy, at the same time riding the coattails of his legacy. So yeah, we work together. It is a brand within a brand. I'm very proud to be a part of it.
The new SoCal Speed Shop is not only a throwback to the golden age of hot rodding, it's also a reminder that all that's old can become new again, as a wave of nostalgia has engulfed hot rod culture. Far from simply looking backward, hot rodders are embracing the past while looking into the future, with the guys at SoCal leading the way. I'm Chip Foose. Thanks for watching. Next time on American Icon, the Hot Rod.
Those cars nowadays are like Fabergé eggs. I mean, they're perfect.
Boyd was basically the puppeteer. He brought the right people in to do the job and make everybody's dream come true.
Boyd just kept up with the smooth look, and the smooth look is really, it's still around today.
Everybody's a celebrity if they're driving a hot rod.